Hello, welcome to the legendary Brown Note. Today I will be reviewing the UHD version of Apollo 13. It is presented in DTSX, and as always, spoilers ahead. Let's jump right in. Alright, so this first scene, there's a lot of wind kind of swirling around when we're on the outside of this building. So right here, the top part of the rocket is being lifted up and being kind of positioned over the rest of the rocket. And right here, there's a satisfying little click right from above you. Right there. So that right there was really nice. The capping of the capsule has a nice little thud there. Overall, I give this scene a 2. So this next scene starts around the 1810 mark. And we're going to get a nice little flyover from this plane. So right there, it just pressurizes the whole room for a quick second. Goes deep, goes low, goes loud. And then you kind of get this nice diffuse engine noise that leaves it hanging overhead. Because of the Atmos and the kind of clarity of the bass there, I give the scene a 3. So this next scene starts at about 3350 mark, and it's probably the scene that you remember the most. It's the famous launch scene. So right there, it starts off with a nice little surround noise. It's the gas, and it seems to be coming from like the front, going back towards the rear. It's a nice little surround effect. So that first ignition is pretty good, but the second one that follows hits even harder. Right there, that second blast, ooh, that was nice. Lots of surround activity right here when it blows back Ken. That musical swell is probably my favorite part of the scene, I'm not gonna lie. It just sounds amazing. Some really good bass here as the rocket buzzes by the tower, and when you see the flame from the engine, that's also a nice little effect. Ooh, that score though. So that jolt had a nice little kick right there. And when the engines light up again, another nice little jolt. So this scene, I'm going to give it a 3, and you may think that's kind of low, but I think it doesn't really dig very deep in terms of the bass. It's very loud. So on the higher end of the bass spectrum, it definitely carries a lot of weight, but it doesn't dig like under 30 hertz. Doesn't really shake the house, shake the couch. It is very loud though, which is cool. There's definitely some surround effects, like the gas kind of at the beginning, but overall, I think this is just a 3. All right, so this next scene kind of starts at the 4950 mark, and it's where Jack stirs the oxygen tanks, and that leads to the infamous explosion. So right when he stirs the tanks, you're going to see the shot kind of follow through some piping or some cabling, and that has a nice little effect right there. Okay, right there, there's a lot of banging above you, and this whole scene is full of Atmos above effects. Oh, right there, when he goes through the tunnel, you hear like some metal creaking and groaning. Okay, when he looks up like that, because the sound is coming from above me, which is pretty cool. So one more intense kind of overhead effect is when he closes the hatch. Right there. Okay, when he comes back into the main part of the ship here, it does a little, like, cool little barrel roll effect, and then again that metal creaking is present. So I was really close to giving the scene a 4, but because the Atmos effects centered around just like that groaning, creaking metal sound consistently, there were like 3 or 4 times that it did that. But it didn't do much else. There wasn't much in the bass department, but this definitely has some overheads, and it's a nice little test to see if your speakers are working. The last scene comes right around the 1 hour 42 minute mark, and there's 2 bright spots here. The first spot is when the kind of shuttle comes through the screen, and the engine, and the engine kind of comes through the screen. It feels like it's lighting the entire room up, and let's see where it is. Right there, it just kind of makes you feel like the whole room is being burnt. So right there, there's the next little low-end thump right there. Sounds really good. So I would give this scene a 3. There's definitely some nice bass here, and the low end hits with authority. Alright, after averaging out the scores, we get a 2.8 out of 5. This puts Apollo 13 in second place on the all-time legendary board. A long time ago, when I first got my home theater and a box setup, I remember the launch scene blowing me away. As I watch the scene now, it has some volume in the higher bass range, but nothing that digs super low. There are other rocket launch scenes in other movies that blow this one away. The recent Apollo 11 comes to mind. I'll have to review that someday. The fourth scene, where the oxygen tanks blow up, is a great demonstration of Atmos, putting you into the action. When the metal creaks and groans, it really feels like I'm inside the spaceship with them. However, this wouldn't be the first movie that I reach for if I'm trying to demo scenes for people. A couple of reasons why I love this movie. Number 1, Tom Hanks. I know a lot of people say he plays the same role in every movie, but I still love him. He seems like a genuinely nice guy on screen and in real life. I think he does a great job acting in this movie. Take the first scene for example. He is staring at the TV watching the moon landing, and the camera just focuses on his face. It's a short scene and he doesn't do much, but for some reason I felt a connection with him as Jim Lovell and everything that he was feeling at the moment. The second reason is the soundtrack. Like I mentioned before, the musical swell during the launch sequence gets me super emotional. I felt like I had something riding on the 3 men sitting in that rocket, much like their wives. The tension is ramped up due to the score. Take the scene near the end where they have to manually do a burn. The orchestral track really gets the blood pumping. Great job, James Horner. Lastly, I love the movie for its accuracy. Everything I've read says the movie nailed the historical accuracy for the most part. I was too young to witness this event in person, but watching this movie makes me feel like I took a part in it. Thanks, Ron Howard. Well, that's it, folks. Thanks for watching my review of Apollo 13. See you next time.